let's take a look at this. We're going to do 2 days of this graphing of the parabola. Just going to take you through these slowly, pick it up a little bit. We just have how many? Just 4? No, there should be some on the back, no? Really?
Yep.
Oh, lucky you guys. The back didn't copy on anyways. Okay. Alright, we'll do with 4. Alright, so I'll take you through maybe 2 of them. You guys do 2 on your own. Alright. In general, here's what we're doing, graphing. Okay, graphing these parabolas. Okay, so they all have a parabola shape. Just remember, if A is positive, it's facing up. A is negative, it starts facing down. Alright. And so these numbers do different things. Okay. Numbers do different things. So we're going to look at graphing it when it's in this standard form, when it's in this format, and we'll look at vertex form a little bit later, which is in a slightly different form. And really what we're doing is we're taking a straight line, and that's like y equals negative 3x plus 5. Y-intercept of 5, slope of negative 3, down 3, right 1, and so on. And we're adding a little curve to it. So that's what that squaring part does. It adds a little curve to it. And notice where it's bending, or where it's not bending. Where is it not moving at all? Okay. Yeah, right at the y-intercept, right, which is actually 5. It's going by 2, 4, 5. Yeah, right. So it's not bending at all there. It bends right around there. So that gives you a sense of how to visualize some of these graphs before we even start. Okay. So take number 1. A is equal to what? Negative 1. B is equal to 4. And C is equal to negative 3. Alright, so there's our graph right there. That's what it's going to look like. So the question is, how can we do this, just using our calculations? We're going to figure out what the vertex is. We're going to figure out what the y-intercept is, which really the y-intercept is the same thing as a straight line. It's that last number. Okay, so we know the y-intercept is negative 3. And we're going to use this idea of symmetry that, well, if this is negative 3 right here, well, on the other side, it's also negative 3 right here at this point. So we really only have to find half the graph. We get the other half for free. Like buy one, get one free. Okay, but the key is starting point. We have to start at the center point, which is called the vertex. How do you calculate that vertex? All right. So this will be a slight reminder. Let's go through some of this. All right. Okay. Find x-intercepts by solving. Yeah, we could do that. Okay. So let's solve this thing. All right. Take out a negative, right? That's GCF, negative 1. We can factor what's left over, which is x squared minus 4x plus 3. Right? Okay. Now, what does this factor to? Okay, look at it. What do you think? Just like the warm-up. X minus 1, x minus 3, right? So we got to get these signs right. If we don't get the signs right, okay, and this is equal to 0. So when we said solving, and we want to solve, that means you set it equal to 0. So we'll have x minus 3 equals 0, and we have x minus 1 equals 0. So whatever's in the binomials equal to 0. This negative out here, you can say, well, we'll divide both sides by a negative. It cancels out. 0 divided by negative 1 is 0. So whatever's in front just kind of goes away by dividing by it with a 0. So we have 2 answers, x equals 3 and x equals 1. Now here's the important part. What do those answers mean? What does 3 and 1 stand for x? Okay. Those are x-intercepts. So that means your graph crosses at 1 right here and at 3 right here. So those are x-intercepts. Important to know what these actually mean. So 1 and 3. I'm going to color code these. Hopefully that will help you realize, well, these numbers go here and what they represent. What is the y-intercept again? That's always the c value. So that's going to the y-axis, go to -3. Get a point there. The very middle of this graph will be right down the middle of the 2 points we already have. So since I have 1 and 3, I know the middle is going to be at 2. So since this point is 4 away from the middle, I know there's another point on the other side. So it's a mirror image. It's reflective. It's the same distance both sides. Okay. So there's the y-intercept. Actually, that's the c part. And so right now I've done A, and I've done C. I've kind of done the axis of symmetry. That's this dotted line. I know it's at 2. Let me show you the formula, though. So to calculate this axis of symmetry, you're going to do -b over 2a. Right. So again, we have to be very careful with our signs. On here, a is equal to what? -1, and b is equal to +4. So we got to use the correct numbers and plug them in correctly. So we have -4 over 2 times -1, which equals, do all the arithmetic correctly, and you get 2. And that's what we expected. See? So that calculation just verified what we already knew, that 2 is the middle of our graph. Okay. How do we know where the vertex actually is? All right, that's when you plug 2 back into here and see what we get. So let's plug 2 back in. F of 2 means we're plugging in 2 into here. Negative. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write it this way. Instead of negative, I'm going to put -1. I'm going to put times 2 squared plus 4 times 2 and -3. And please, if it works for you, please write it like this. This will help a lot with miscalculations. So we have 4 times -1, which is -4. If you get +4 here, you're doing the order of operations wrong. You're multiplying and then doing exponents. You got to do the exponent, the 2 squared, and then multiply by negative. And we got +8, and then we got -3. So my answer is what? 1. So the vertex is at 2. Okay, that's the x I plugged in, right? So the x is 2, and the y I got is 1. So 2, 1. And that fits the parabola shape very well. So we expect that. Very good. Okay. So that's B. Okay, is this vertex, is that at the bottom or top of the graph? Is this point right here the top or the bottom of the graph? Yeah. There's a fly buzzing around. Alright, yeah, we can say this vertex is at the top, right? So we don't say, well, the vertex is at the top. We say the vertex is the maximum point. So we're going to say a max. So with your vertex, you're right underneath it, you're going to write min or max. Okay. Another way of looking at this is A is less than 0. A is negative. Anytime this is negative, whatever, this is going to be pointing down. Therefore, the vertex is at the top of the graph. All right. Lastly, what are all the possible x values? So domain and range. Domain, yeah. So domain, we can plug any value for all these parabolas, and this is going to get redundant. I'm going to say all reals. We can plug in any value of x into here. Things we couldn't plug in is we start worrying about when we have square roots and fractions, because you can't take the square root of negatives and you can't divide by 0. But with all these parabolas, we'll be able to do that. What about the range? Okay, so going back to the vertex, range has to do with this value right here, 1. So all the values, all the y values, are they above 1 or below 1? So do you see the graph going up this way or going down this way? Is the graph up here or is it down here? Yeah, it's down. So these are all the y's less than 1. So it's at 1 and below. So we just say y is less than or equal to 1 for our range. Always has to do with these two. So if you want, some people prefer these more algorithmic, like if I just know these two things, this is the answer. Take that number and take that sign. Okay? So A is less than 0, so take the less than. It's actually less than or equal to, but that's how you know, okay, without actually graphing it. You know that number, you know that number, and for range it's always y. It's always y. Alright. Okay. Let's try one more. I know there's a lot in here, that's why we're going to be practicing. If you need to, you can label this as, okay, this is part A, this is part B. Okay. Min max, I think that's E right here. Domain and range, this is part F. And part D was just a graph. Okay. Oh, the y-intercept. That's part C right here. So that's actually the value C, and that's also part C of the problem. Okay, so we got A, B, C, D is the graph, E, and F. Okay, those are all the different parts. Okay. Let's see here. Try another. Which one do we want to do here? Which one? 2 or 4? Which one? 2. We'll go to 2. Alright, so let's start off with the solving. Notice how exactly what we did yesterday, that's what you're using here. So you got to know, start off with GCF. We have to know that GCF is 2x just by looking at that. And we have x minus 2 equal to 0. If we want to, we can put parentheses around the GCF like that. So we have 2x equals 0 and x minus 2 is 0. So that means x is 0 or x is 2. What does that mean graphically? Once again, let's know what that means. So we have 0. Right? These are x's, right? X equals. So you go down here, say 2 and 0. Just like that. There's my x-intercepts. A. Axis of symmetry, vertex. Alright. Part B, we can already tell that the axis of symmetry is at 1, because it's always in the middle. So the middle of 0 and 2 is 1. But we can verify that with negative b over 2a. A equal to 2. B is x to the x, so negative 4. Plugging those in correctly, we'll get negative of negative 4 over 2 times 2. Notice how I have a negative for the formula and the negative from the b. So there's two negatives there. So 4 over 4 equals 1, which confirms, yes, x equals 1. Right, so once again, x. Know what when you have x equals, that means it's on the x-axis. Plug that in, figure out what y is now. So now we're doing, or f of x, I guess I should say. So f of x and y are the same thing. So let's say f of 1 is 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1. So we get 2 minus 4. Make sure you know why is this answer not 4? Shouldn't this be 4 right here? Because 2 times 1 squared is 4. Okay, so do you know why I got 2 and how I got 2 right here? And not 4. So exponents, 1 squared, multiply. We're not doing this from left to right. We're doing order of operations. So we get negative 2. So x is 1, y is negative 2. There we go. A is positive. So therefore this one is a min. Right? And when you graph it, you can see the vertex is at the bottom. Yeah. Vertex is at the bottom. So this is B. This is E right here. F. Okay, so once I said domain, we're just going to say all reals for all parabolas. But what's the range? Okay, that's when you can look back here. Negative 2, and it's above. All I'm saying is that the graph starts at negative 2, and it goes up on the y. So my range is y greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay. Try to mimic that. This has been recorded, so if you need to, just go to School Loop, pull up the video, or you go to my YouTube channel and pull up the video, and it'll walk you through it. And it'll walk you through step by step.